Feel free to browse.
Interesting. You have a great day now.
You got my attention.
Safe travels.
Off with you.
Need assistance? You have a great day now.
Can I assist you? Goddess, watch over you.
Vishnu Allah.
I'm listening. Genadris.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a new Road to Rank 1. Today we have a couple of fun games that I played. The first game is going to be against my teammate Liquid Clam. Pride of Altaris. It's one of the best maps in my opinion for Protoss. It's a very large map which makes it difficult to do any type of damage as a Terran. And on top of that you have relatively easy first 3, even 4 bases I would say. There's a tower in the middle which can give you some control. The rotations are easier to defend than to attack, and thus it is generally considered a Protoss map. Because I'm playing against Clem, and Clem is a little bit better than myself, I decided to play slightly risky and not scout whatsoever, and instead just go for a straight Nexus here. So I'm gonna get a Nexus on the low ground, Nexus before core, and follow this up immediately with a Stargate, or at least that is the general plan. I'm still, I think, gonna scout maybe around, or even send this probe across the map, I can't recall. Cybercore goes down in 20. Now, this is a build that would have lost against Proxy Reaper, Proxy 2 Rex. I would have been in trouble against an eBay block. But if it's none of these things, TOS is in a very nice spot in general, I would say. So you kind of feel good about life, you know? I'm gonna throw down my pylon on the low ground. I saw his SCV on the map already, and I'm just gonna chase this SCV, just to make sure that my opponent isn't gonna get a bunker behind my natural mineral line. That is one of these places where it's very tricky to deal with it often. So we wait for my Cybercore to finish. I'm just gonna try to make sure that I see his SCV moving back home. I see it moving in kind of a weird pattern from the right side back to the left. So I'm thinking maybe he tried to proxy something and maybe he doesn't. I don't know. It's hard to say at this point for me. But because I saw him move towards the left side, I do decide to send my adept in a slightly alternative route as well, I believe. First adept is out, because we saw a Marine with our first probe. I'm not too worried about any type of Reaper stuff, especially because I also have the tower in the middle. So even if he did go Marine into Reaper, I would probably be capable of seeing it. That's why I decide to not chrono boost my second adept here. I spot a little bit on the left side, but I'm also not too invested in this. I hope I... Oh, actually, I do cancel it. I'm gonna actually take a look here, see if there's a proxy starport. I am afraid of potential Hellions. It doesn't make much sense, because my plan was already to go for straight Phoenixes. If you're playing straight Phoenixes, the most important thing is to see if your opponent actually has a factory or has a reactor on the wall, and you want to count Marines. You want to make sure that you know what's going on. Right now I have absolutely no clue what's going on, and I potentially need to pay for that, which would suck, obviously. I'm gonna take out that stupid, whatever it is, unicorn or something, antelope, whatever you call it. I chrono boosted my Phoenix here, which is a mistake, because you don't have enough gas to build 3 Phoenixes in a row. I now count the Marines, and I see 6 Marines here, which probably means that he either went for reactor first, or he opened up with Marine before getting a reactor. So I'm a little bit... Maybe it's actually 7, and maybe I miscounted. It's also completely possible. Counting's never been my strong suit. I remember that being one of the criticisms on the early report card when I was 8 or 9. This young boy has trouble counting. Here I was surprised that he figured out that I was going for Stargate. Kills my adept for free. And kind of, you know, he kind of shows, hey, I know you're playing Stargate. Who else would get a Cyclone first? Like if you're playing against Blink, Cyclone first is actually just really bad. It is okay against DT drop, but the main 2 options really are Blink and Stargate. Then I realized, well, I didn't scout, and I went Nexus before Core. Most of the time, if a Protoss doesn't scout and goes Nexus before Core, it's going into Stargate. Because Stargate is the only build that truly gets a big advantage from Nexus before Core. Because you have slightly more gas, it just allows you to pay for everything. So I go from 4 Phoenixes into a 5th Phoenix, into a Robo Bay off of 2 gates, and then we take a relatively late 3rd base. This is a really bad build order against people that play single racks into triple CC. But as I already saw with Factory, I'm kind of okay with this. I'm gonna get a couple of these SCVs. I see that he went Cyclone into Tank. If I would have shown my Phoenixes earlier in the game, he would have gone Cyclone into a Viking, or Cyclone into 2 Vikings, or maybe triple Cyclone, which would have allowed him to easily stop my Phoenix harass. Now, because he has a tank out, it's gonna make it a lot harder for him to stop my Phoenix harass. And really the only true solution that he has is to... well, what actually does he have? Right now I'm seeing Stim being researched. I see a 3rd CC. Yeah, the only option he really has is a 3rd CC. He invested so much in factory units, they're not really going to help him here. So he basically covered everything with the tank and the Cyclone. In case it's 4-gate Blink, he would be fine. In case of a Phoenix or an Oracle, he would be semi-okay as well. But I also played quite greedy behind it, and I just took some liberties that usually you can't really take, and so far it's been paying off for me. I don't want to get too many Phoenixes, but I also don't want too little Phoenixes. I still believe he's going to have a decent amount of units that could hit me pretty soon, so I want to be capable of fighting that. But I also don't want to get an infinite amount of Phoenixes, because then it will delay my potential gas investments, which could be +1, charge, a second Colossus, thermal lands, this type of stuff. You know, there's a lot of things that cost gas, which are very useful. Right now I can get all of it because I stopped my Phoenix production after 6. If I would have gone up to 8 or 9, it might have been a little bit harder. So I actually did a decent amount of damage as well on his SCVs, which makes me happy. And the one thing that, now that I'm looking at it, I do regret a little bit, is the fact that I don't have any pylon spread yet. And I'm gonna do it right now, so I guess the analytical Hearthstone and the playing Hearthstone have similar minds. But I think those should have been done preferably already, because they have good vision in the middle of the map. It is possible that he tries to go around with a medevac and tries to drop into my main base or tries to drop below my third. And I don't quite know where his army is. I don't have an oracle, which means that I don't get perfect vision on his army. No, quite the opposite. I don't have vision at all on his army. I don't have an observer here either. So that's the one thing I am struggling with, because I skipped the oracle. Allows for more potential damage with phoenixes. It makes it easier for me to tech into other gas things, but I do have slightly less vision. It's harder for me to figure out where his army is. So I decided to recall these phoenixes, even though they were quite close. I'm not even sure if this was good. I'm gonna get the Raven for free, which is very nice. And now I want to get vision of his army. Like I said, the one main issue that I have is not having vision of his army, so I need to immediately establish that. I see that he doesn't have combat yet, and I have 3 Colossi with range. So I'm actually feeling kind of confident right now. I'm like, wait a second, this does feel pretty good. I want to take out some of his reinforcements, because pushing forward for him is going to be hard. I, however, also don't want to get dropped into my main base, and this is something that I'm kind of forgetting at this point. And yep, he hits my main base with a bunch of marines, and now I need to kind of split my army. Luckily, it only is mass marine, which means that pure Colossi can deal with this super well. If there's 5-6 marauders there, it becomes a lot harder, but because it's pure marine, it makes life a little bit easier. I'm gonna send my phoenixes into my main base. I have kind of that bottom side fort. He decides to attack me. I was kind of surprised by this, as it does allow me to clean up this little army he has here. I'm trying to keep all my phoenixes alive. Not so much because I believe they're going to be super useful in the fight, but especially when chasing armies, but also when you're trying to take out drops. It's just nice to have a large phoenix count. And I mentioned earlier that generally I'm a big fan of not getting too many phoenixes. I am also a big fan of later on in the game sometimes getting a couple extra phoenixes if your opponent keeps building medevacs over and over. You can maybe add like 2 more phoenixes, and then against double medevacs you're going to be in a really good spot majority of the time. Get a little bit of a run by going. 2 zealots running into his third base. I'm not paying attention to it because I have more important things to do. I'm trying to figure out where he is exactly, and I can't quite find it, which is triggering me. I get hit by something on the minimap. I pick it up immediately, and I continued Colossi production. I saw a lot of medevacs. I've seen him build a lot of
Greetings.
mines as well. And if I want to split my army effectively, I decided, you know what, I actually want to get a bunch of Colossi here. Then I can maybe split 2-2, or I can just straight up engage into my opponent, as he actually targeted at my 4 or 5. Times. I now notice that he does have an armory because that mine doesn't become visible. I'm losing 1-2 phoenixes right away, but I also want to move across the map. So I get one more swipe in with my Colossi, and I decide to just straight up walk across the map. At the same time, I'm also realizing he most likely wants to attack me. I'm happy that I continued my Colossi production. So I can attack him and at the same time... Oh, actually, no, that wasn't a Colossi, that was an Observer. I actually believed there was a Colossi as well in the game. That's why I was so sure right now as well there was going to be a Colossi. Just warp him in a bunch of Zealots and I'm going to try to move them, you know, to kill this army. I wonder if I'm going to get it. I do kill a lot of workers here. I recalled 3 of my Colossi and they're not going to get home. But it did force him to start targeting down that, that Nexus. Which means that he lost maybe a couple more units than he ideally would have wanted to. He decides to come down already, which is a mistake. Because I can actually target down some of these Vikings. And I get a pretty decent trade there. I also managed to keep this base alive. I have a bunch of Zealots there that I already warped in. And I have continued upgrades as well. So actually I'm not in that bad of a spot here. Like, it's obviously not the greatest thing in the world, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. Did just lose all of my Phoenixes, which is pain. Because now I can't kill drops if they're going to be idling in that space. Making sure that that third isn't landing yet, so I send another Zealot in. And I see his army coming out to this base again. Now, because I have a slightly larger Colossi count than usual, I went for 4 rather than 3, it does allow me to make this type of split. A 2-2 Colossi split while still having a big army. I accidentally built that hallucinated Colossi, that was absolutely not intentional. I believe I also started Blink already, and I'm gonna get these 3 mines for free, which is a pretty big deal. A large part of my army is still consisting of Zealots, so killing any amount of mines is good. I also saw something heading towards my natural, a medevac, or towards my main, I believe. I think it ends up going into my natural, yep. I also see something heading towards my third right now on the mini-map. Not quite sure if I'm paying attention to that. Well, I do end up seeing it. I split. Not the worst split, not the greatest split. He's at the same time pushing forward, and we're kind of struggling here. Getting a good army split. Luckily there's not too much of an army. All of these mines are dishing out a crap. Ton of damage, and that one also does a fair amount. Still want to clear this thing up. And I believe my army currently is better than my opponent. So in that case, all you need to do is find your opponent's army, make sure that you can push that to your base, and then you can attack. Because very often against Terran, your army is better, but because the Terran has map control and can force a base trade, it becomes really difficult to attack. So I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm sending in 4 Zealots. I'm like, okay, if I force you to go home with this main army, then maybe I can just straight up fight against you. And that is exactly what I'm trying to do here. Try to target something down, also do some pre-splitting at the same time. And of course, at this point, I probably already should have started my disruptor production. Second row should have most likely been done already. And we gotta make sure to keep these run-bys alive. I'm on 4 base, I don't know how many bases he is on. So the one thing that I do really care about is figuring out what his base count is and really what his plan is. So I see there's a base here, but this is an orbital. This could be because he floated it from the main base. It could also be because he just morphed his 4cc into an orbital because he had a low SCV count. I'm not quite sure because I can't remember what happened with the 3rd CC thing. So, now I have a shot apparently. Okay, we can maybe clear the base then. I don't have any disruptors here, so it can be very risky to take this type of fight often. The one saving grace for me here is that I have a lot of Colossi and that I have a run-by going in at the same time as well. So often I kind of... it's kind of okay to zone with just pure Colossi if the Viking count isn't that large, which it really isn't. I had a very big disruptor shot on a lot of the ghosts immediately. I lost a bunch of these zealots to snipes as well, they're on the left side. You can see this is what I was talking about. If the Viking count isn't that large and there's a lot of Marines, even if the fight probably shouldn't have been that great, it still is kind of fine. I killed a bunch of ground, still a lot of ghosts. The problem here is that I also lost all of my Colossi, which means that Marines now become a lot better, ghosts become a lot better. Yeah, that's a very big disruptor shot that kills about 8-9 Marines, which is a large part of his army at this point. Put this bad boy back. I don't have a 5th base yet, which is probably stupid. I am going to send my prism into a location where hopefully it can finally do some damage. And I have good map vision still. So I still have some things going for me, but it's not absolutely brilliant either. I am kind of lacking gas, and my first DTs should try to create a little bit of chaos here. Oh, he just drops his mules, which is really nice for me, because it means that most likely he doesn't have any scans available. So I just queue up a bunch of kills, or queue up a bunch of SCVs that I want to take out. And I want to start moving across the map, take a 5th base. It's a very odd position. The moment you take a base like this in the middle, you're basically forced to, for the rest of the game, keep the middle in control. If you lose control of the middle, you lose the 5th base and you lose the game. It might have been better to take that base one above it, on the high ground. That way I have some defensive. It does allow me, however, to get batteries around the low ground. It makes it easier for me to contest that watchtower. So I basically play a lot harder on the watchtower. It does allow me to keep that watchtower more easily, but it also means that if I do lose the watchtower, then I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So it just forces me to be a lot more aggressive, and that's exactly what I want to do here. I want to clear some of these workers, and you see I'm using these disruptors merely as a zoning tool. I just want to make sure that my army can get out alive and that I can clear a couple of SCVs. That's my main thing, because I know that I'm out expanding him right now, and I'm probably gonna get a better army eventually as well, because I don't think he's that rich anymore. I'm gonna start moving my observer forward. As I said, I'm really going kind of all in on this, on having this middle part of the map. And I'll see him come back. I blink forward, and once again, merely using this disruptor force as a zoning tool. Once you get a sometimes you do get a hit, but you don't want to get too crazy here. As I'm also still relying a lot on these run-bys doing something, so I'm gonna try to move forward. And I don't really want to lose anything. I just want to lose like 1 or 2 zealots, kill 8-9 SCVs, run away, then zone again. And at the same time, continue expanding while I'm doing that. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm playing this how I want it to in my mind. Sometimes his Viking count has grown a little bit, and I kind of want to dance. At this point, I feel like my army is good enough that I don't just want to zone while doing damage. I actually want to kind of zone away his ground army while I'm pushing aggressively into a position. So I don't really want to 100% fight here, but I wouldn't mind if he attacks into me. So you can see I use a lot of my disruptor bullets, and I just go back home. I didn't take any major damage. Here we go again, and just kind of want to use these stalks to target down Vikings. And once I get these Vikings down to a decent number, that probably means that my Colossi are going to reign supreme at some point. I want to kill this orbital command at this point. This was a little bit greedy, I think, out of me, because now I might not have enough disruptor balls to keep zoning and get a safe retreat. Which means if he targets fires properly, and he would have had a slightly bigger army, I could have been in very big trouble. Because I had a bigger army, and my Colossi managed to win. I still, you know, I just won the game, but it was a little more risk than ideally I like to take if you have this type of composition, where often it feels like that as long as you keep this composition alive, you can get these free trades, because he doesn't have Lips, he doesn't have Vikings, you're kind of gonna be fine. So, yeah, pretty nice first game, and let's head into game number 2, which is going to be against Lambo here on Berlingrad. Berlingrad is one of these maps which is a lot smaller than most regular maps, which means that Stargate openers are just a bunch worse than they are on, let's say, Glittering Ashes, even Hardwire, 2K Atmosphere. Berlingrad and Curious Minds really are the main two maps where I'd say, okay, it is going to be very useful to be capable of playing something else rather than just a 2 Stargate Void Ray. And often that is going to be some type of Twilight opening. So I didn't actually get the block off, which is really bad if you're opening Twilight, because that is one of the main things that you do want to get, is getting a block on their natural. Allows you to potentially do more damage with your glaive attack. If you don't get the block off, they can just wall their natural with like Evo Chamber, Roach Warren, and then a third Evo Chamber once you start attacking, and their queens can just kill your adepts while their lings eventually surround, and once their roaches are out, the fun is just over for you as a Protoss player. So I'm obviously kind of upset here, trying to do as much damage with this probe as I can, harassing these minerals.
How may I help?
Sniper Core goes down. It's just a very standard build order opening. We've been playing this for a long time, there's not too much to say about it. Gotta make sure that you don't mind too much gas. Sometimes if you play a lot of Stargate openers, you kind of forget that with these glaive openers, you don't actually want too much gas. Like, minerals really are the limiting factor very often. And getting more gas than you really need to tends to be bad, tends to delay your build.
Greetings.
So I decided to just, you know, annoy him a little bit with his mineral patches, then get as little gas as I really need. That's my main plan here. So I get Warp Gate. I'm gonna boost my first Adept as well, and I'm gonna be very careful with my Chronos. You don't really want a Chrono on Probe because you simply can't afford it. It's a very tight build order, and one Chrono on Probe just means that you're gonna have less money for things like gateways, robotics facilities, Twilight Councils, or perhaps even extra units that you would like to have.
What brings you here?
So I'm just gonna be getting a second Chrono as well on the Adept. We'll force out a bunch of links. Which is always nice to have. If you get your opponent to build links rather than drones, that is generally considered a good thing. It takes the forward third base, which means
am honored. A rune rifle.
I'm going to be having a great time here with my adept.
I'm out of range. I need to get closer. That spell isn't ready yet.
just kind of scouting, poking in. I now think I realized there's like, wait a second. It's actually going to be really difficult for me to do any type of damage. And maybe I don't want to go straight into 4 gate like we used to a lot. Maybe just doing something like 3 gate is going to be just fine. Or even a 2 gate opener here. I can't quite recall what I do. But it is starting to look like a 2 gate opener. Which is what rather than a 3rd gateway, I'm just going to get 4 adepts before my warp gate finishes. This will allow me to have a bit more money than usual. I can continue worker production all the way through. I can even get back into gas a little quicker. Usually you can get a faster 3rd base as well. And the only real downside is that after your 3rd warp in, you're going to have 1 less unit or something like that. Yeah, it's not the end of the world. Most of the time it doesn't really matter for the unit count. I think it's quite powerful. Another disadvantage, however, is that because I don't have a stalker here, who's gonna get a free scout into my main base, but that is just kind of the way of the world, you know. Guys. No, oh, almost allow my opponent to get into my main base, and he actually gets a head start, so my adept doesn't even survive, which means I need to now cancel these adepts. As a result, send these bad boys back. Now, I'm going to end all of his units, which is nice. But it also means that my attack is practically toast at this point. And I had to build a 3rd warp gate in order to get a good wall, because my adept wasn't properly in the wall. This is all very painful, and it's pissing me off, obviously. Because now my 3rd base is going to be delayed. My push is not going to do anything. Basically, the entire reason why I went 2 gate is now completely useless. And I'm just going to have less adepts than I would want originally. Because it did end up killing a bunch of links. Kind of hopefully using in. It is a little bit, it was risky if he had links in positions and roaches there, but he didn't, so I get to go away. The prism gets to survive. Just trying to look for some damage while I am teching up to these higher tier units, these disruptors here, and then eventually hopefully get into a couple of colossi, which is obviously the dream here in the end. The dream is to get enough colossi that you can just kill everything on the ground. And I'm just constantly trying to rotate this little prison and this main adept. I have these 5 adepts here, they're just going to be killing 3. And don't forget that this is a vulnerable force, they can just get surrounded and killed. So I do need to be slightly careful. I think I might even be using them too aggressively. And then this prism is not really being used as a killing tool for killing a large amount of numbers, but a drone here and there could be useful. I'm just gonna leave these 2 adepts in the corner, and I'm gonna recall my prism so I can get the disruptors that I have as a follow-up here into the prism. My speed is already finished up. My worker count isn't super high, but it's also not insanely low, so I don't really mind too much personally. We're gonna get plus 1. Once again, shading away while we're moving in will allow me to get a creep tumor, which is nice. This creep has been low. I'm sending 2 adepts into his natural while at the same time going, or sorry, into his 3rd while at the same time going into his natural. Actually gonna get 2 workers there and maybe 4 more over here, so that's 6 workers total. At the same time, I'm not controlling my adepts, so I could have probably killed 4 or 5 workers there had I paid attention. But rather than paying attention, I didn't pay attention and I lost them for killing, I think, maybe 1 worker in the end. I'm also starting to get cannons, at least in my main base. I also have blink, just in case of mutas. I'm not quite sure what my opponent is doing, but I know he's up to no good, because this is Lambo. He's always up to no good. A couple of cannons will not hurt. It's important to figure out exactly what your opponent is doing. Once again, we'll try to clear a creep tumor here. We'll get it. And I also killed the drone, which is nice. At the same time, I'm looking for damage with my prism. Get another 4 or 5 workers. It's actually good damage. Like, every little bit of damage that you do is honestly good damage. And I did a decent amount of good damage. Piling gets built in the main Templar archives because I believe he might be going either into Banelings or straight into Vipers. Ideally you kind of scout that, but I haven't been using any hallucination. So you want to know whether they're going fast Vipers or whether they're going quickly into Ling Bane, and then that's also a possibility. If they're playing Ling Bane, Ravager Ling Bane, you often don't actually want to be attacking, because most of the time you're gonna be the one that gets attacked. And whenever they're playing Roach into Lurker, that type of stuff, one of the things that we very often see is big Roach counter-attacks, but you don't really see Baneling run-bys, and you don't have to be too afraid until Vipers are out. So you can actually be on the map, you can clear some creep. It's one of the things I think I did wrong here, is not figuring out quite what combo he was going for. I mean, at this point it should be pretty clear that it's not going to be Banelings, but actually end up losing that Disruptor. Not a great little trick there out of me. Another thing you can of course do if you're playing against this exact setup is that you can actually, rather than go straight into Storm, is that you go into Templar and double Robo Disruptor. So you get like 6-7 Disruptors, because the follow-up here is always going to be Lurker. And then you use the Templar to feed back any potential fight. It sometimes allows you to do a lot of damage with a big max push.
I'm out of range.
There's a lot of options here that you have as a Protoss player, and I think I went for one of the worst options here, which is going straight into Storm. It does allow me to kind of fight straight up, but it makes my max push have less potential of breaking actual positions. So he's still going to try to go in. I get both feedbacks off, which is really big. This completely kills his push. If I don't get these two feedbacks, he actually has a pretty powerful push. So once again, this is really common. This type of Roach run-by is completely ordinary, these Roach run-bys. You're expecting one towards your third base as well, so I'm getting more cannons, I'm getting more batteries at these bases, while I'm trying to push across the map. Because when you're playing Colossi Stalker, and I did invest a lot in Stalkers, I have about 16, 17 Stalkers here, you do need to do something. This is not a competition that can just sit back and be, ta-da, I did nothing, now handle them. No, you need to be active on the map, and I haven't been super active on the map, and that's kind of painful here, and it's also showing at this point. I don't even have a recall available, so I'm actually in danger of losing this base. I'm gonna keep my probes alive, but yeah, there's just a lot of roaches here, and he's most likely gonna be capable of killing this base. I do blink 4, it's gonna be really close, but in the end it doesn't even matter, as I do end up losing it. Pop! Final roaches. Overall, maybe not an awful trade, and these zealots are gonna start attacking his little hatchery. I think I just end up losing that zealot run by without damage. Of course, I want to immediately rebuild that thing, or at least ASAP. Rebuild it as soon as possible. And once again, send around a couple of adepts. But at the same time, denying creep and trying to find some damage. I'm very aware of the fact that I'm not in a brilliant spot. So I'm trying to deal damage where I can. I'm trying to just... Wherever I can deal damage, I want to deal damage. He wants me to not deal any damage and then win the game through run-bys. Once again, we have a run-by over here. So I'm just kind of clearing creep, I'm clearing vision, which is one of the most important things, honestly. And while these adepts here are fighting, I actually find a pretty sweet spot here. And I actually get some nice, what do you call them? Some nice force fields there. I do like that. Take out that base, and I probably should focus a little more on these drones as well. So I kill one base, I take out basically everything he has here when it comes to eco. Get a couple of storms as well. At the same time, I'm still clearing that side as well. Now once again, it's 4 base against 4 base. I kill a bunch of drones as well. And perhaps we can do even a little bit more, which is obviously my goal. So I see him being over there with his lurkers. I decide to go for a bit of a risky move perhaps, but I do go for it. I see he's very low on that hatchery, and boom, I go. I see his lurkers coming up there. Get some nice storms immediately on a lot of these links. That storm didn't completely hit. He's still trying to chase me. I'm like, okay, this is all safe, this is all good. I'm kind of trying to fight here. Kind of feeling it as well, honestly. And it's Zealot run buys into his bases. He's currently on 2 base against my 4. I'm like, okay, he's going in for the attack, and then I get lurker flanked, and I lose my entire army. It's very painful. Because if you lose your entire army, you don't have anything to fight with anymore. If you don't have anything to fight with, often you die. You have a couple of Immortals at home and have some Templar without Storm, but most of the time that's not going to be enough if the lurker count is well, above 2. Yeah. I'm just completely dead here. My Zealot run bys do a little bit, and although he had no real mining remaining, he's still just gonna be capable of killing me because I stayed on the map for too long with my army. I didn't realize where his lurkers were. He flanks me, and he gets the win. So congrats to him. And we lose this game. Take a look at the replay. I'm happy with myself, just to make sure whether I was winning or not, and you know, just checking things out. So as you can, 76 against 73 workers. Well, a loss is a loss, pain, but it is what it is. MMR goes down a little bit by 12, but luckily Lambo has a lot of MMR, so we don't lose too much. Then our next game is going to be against good old Maxi Paxi. And as always is the case against Max Pax, you will need to start fighting against a 1 gate expand. I am genuinely not quite sure what is best against the 1 gate expand. I struggle mightily with 1 gate expand when I'm playing 2 gate myself, and when I open up 1 gate expand myself, I also struggle against 2 gate. It's really difficult to play proper 1 gate expand defense, but if you play it, it feels like you're almost always ahead. Yeah, it's just really difficult. My hotkeys were something wrong with them, so he allowed me to fix it.
It's too far away.
And as always is the case against Max Packs, you will need to start fighting against a 1 gate expand. I am genuinely not quite sure what is best against the 1 gate expand. I struggle mightily with 1 gate expands when I'm playing 2 gate myself, and when I open up 1 gate expand myself, I also struggle against 2 gate. It's really difficult to play proper 1 gate expand defense, but if you play it, it feels like you're just almost always ahead. It's just, yeah, it's just really difficult. Yeah, Max Pax first just having a little chat. My hotkeys were something wrong with them, so he allowed me to fix them. He'll sometimes message me to start searching for a ladder gate because he misses me. Inquire about his low MMR, and he'll give me an explanation. Spots, for the people that don't know, is a relatively young German Protoss player who's good, but he's not one of the top guys, you know. So I'm just surprised, like I'm genuinely surprised. I'm like, oh, Spots. It's sometimes you have these players that are a lot lower than you in MMR, but that you just struggle with a lot. And Max Packs, actually, he told me about this before, that I think Spots has one of the best early games in Europe. And if Max Packs says that about you, you probably do have one of the best early games in Europe, because I believe that Max Packs has the best early game in Europe. And personally, I never struggled too much against Spots, but that's probably because I played 2 gates. But maybe Spots is really good against 1 gate. In that case, I might want to have a conversation with this guy. Because if Max Packs respects you, then he respects you, you know? It is what it is, and that's a big thing. I'm not quite sure yet if he respects me. Sometimes he does say something where I'm like, ah, okay, that shows some respect. And then other times, you know, it's almost like I'm a walkover to him. After I beat Maru in the GSL 8 qualifier, he messaged me and said, oh, you just made my lower bracket a lot harder. Because rather than having me in his lower bracket, he got Maru. I guess it's true. Tough luck, buddy. Then he did end up losing, I think, 3-0 to Maru. And I doubt I would have beaten him 3-0 like Maru did, so yeah. It is what it is. I decided to go for a pylon block here and go for a proxy nexus. This is something that I saw Astrea do, someone that I've been... it's an American player, for people that don't know. In my mind, one of the best American players at the moment. It's absolutely fantastic. He's really, really good right now. And yeah, I just kind of want to copy some of the things that he does. At the same time, we have Max Packs sending out this adept. I get this adept for free, which is a big deal. At the same time, I have my 2 stalkers fighting on his side. I'm just right-clicking that battery. I'm like, if I can get that battery, that'd be sick. Sadly, I won't be capable of getting that battery. And I can't recall if I finish up this Cybercore. If I don't do it, I think I might just not finish it up. No, I do end up finishing it up. Okay. And I get the proxy on my Nexus. I think I might... It might have been better off just straight up killing the pylon, but at least with Stalker 2 and 3, right? I think it does feel like it would be better, but then again... It's hard to say sometimes. So right now he opened up with an Oracle. I see an Oracle flying into my main as well. And I just want to make sure that I don't get stasis. It's one of the most important things. Oh. And his Void Ray is out and clears 2 of my Stalkers there at the front, which is not great. However, his Nexus is kind of delayed, so I probably have a similar amount of probes, a faster Nexus, and I'm forcing out units that he doesn't really use. On top of that, I'm not even sure yet if he knows about my natural here. So I'm gonna start attacking that base, and at this point I think he's gonna go for the scout and figure it all out. But yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, okay, here he sees it. Get one more shot in. No, I don't. I'm just gonna clear his pylon, and I know that he's building a bunch of Void Rays, and I know what he likes to do with these Void Rays, and that is moving across the map. So very often when I play this scenario against him, he moves across the map with like 2 Void Rays, 5 Stalkers or so, and I'm just gonna be in a world of trouble. And generally you're pretty far behind in that type of scenario. Because yeah, he still has the Oracle, so you need to keep 1, sometimes even 2 units in your main base. At the same time he can come in the front. He doesn't quite have enough Stalkers here though to truly fight me, so I pull some workers. This is a double use. 1, it tanks some shots, and also it means that his Oracle can kill those workers. Then he actually moves forward, which is a bad decision in my opinion. I see him come here with his Oracle, and oh, accidentally A moves into my army. A rare mistake when it comes to Oracle control out of Max Packs. He's one of the greatest Oracle harassers in the entire world actually. His control is very good usually, but there he accidentally clicked the wrong unit and lost it for free. It's a very big deal. As you notice, I've been cutting a lot of workers as well this entire time to get more units out. This does mean that I most likely need to do something with it. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm looking for his adept here. I find his adept. Get another little stalker at home. Just to make sure that I don't take too much damage. I mean, I'm gonna most likely lose 1 of these workers. Oh my god, that control was crazy good, Kevin. Wow. You anticipated what he was going to attack. Very well done. Kind of proud of myself there, honestly. I'm also straight up afraid of DTs, as it's a common follow-up out of Max Packs. As you can see, once again, I'm cutting workers. This is not because my macro sucks, but it is because I'm afraid of dying. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing right now, just making sure that I'm not going to die. 2 adepts enter my main base. I noticed that a little bit delayed, so I decided to recall. I think I end up with 2-3 workers. That's 4. That's going to be 5. So it ends up being 5 workers. If he was being aggressive at the same time, I probably would have lost every single worker in my third base. This really wasn't the tightest defense that I've seen in my life, but it is what it is. Third base goes down off of 2-gate. Something I like to do. 2-gate into a third base. Especially against 1-gate expand. Tends to be good. I built my own dark shrine. I had a little bit of gas left over and I don't quite know what to do with it. You might be wondering why I just built that pylon there, and the main reason for it is if he has DPs, that I can keep him out for a little bit, so I can keep my observer in the front, just checking what he's doing. I don't see that many units honestly, and that surprises me. So I'm gonna keep my observer at my third base, stalker in the wall in the main, and because my natural isn't mining, that means that the only base that currently can be attacked by DTs is being defended as well. Don't forget I'm also getting my own dark shrine. And I get a cancel on this base, which is really nice. And I accidentally rally a stalker into his army, which is a lot less nice. But still, it's okay. It's alright. Get a second observer. I'll send the first one across the map a little bit. I think I might get a forge here finally. So it's a late forge. I'll admit to that. And I now see him moving across the map. My opponent moving across the map means that he wants to attack me. I see where he's not going, which only leaves one place where he could be going, and that is over here. Oh, he decides to bring forward quite aggressively as well. The double adept harass. And I decide to go blink in. That might have been a mistake. He did have less units, but it allows him to clear a lot of my workers. And most likely just to recall out here, which is exactly what he ends up doing. So I have a DT as well, but I'm afraid to go into the natural. He almost always has a cannon. And if he hadn't killed 5-6 workers there, I think I would have been in a really good spot. Right now I'm still in a fine spot. My follow-up plan here is going to be to go into disruptors. Kind of keep map control as I have a larger stalker count. But at the same time, you also don't really want to lose to a run by. So I'm gonna get a cannon in my third base. I keep one of my probes, or sorry, one of my observers at home. And this is a pretty cool move that I'm doing here, where I'm going towards his natural, because I have the DT in his third base, right? So I'm just kind of attacking him in that third, and with the DT, and at the same time, I'm fake attacking him over here. I end up losing a little bit more than I anticipated I would. But I do kill 5 workers as well, so maybe even 6. Yeah, I do get 6. I kill 6 workers, I lose 4 stalkers. It's not the greatest trade, but really it also isn't the worst trade. My gas count isn't very high. I do have good observer count still, I believe. I think I have 2. And he decides to attack because he kind of got the stalker lead now. I'm surprised I didn't start my robo bay yet. Okay, here we go. He kills my observer, I kill his observer, so we're both... Whenever you can kill an observer, it's almost always worth it for 2 reasons. 1, 75 gas, and it's very quick to die. And second of all is robotics facility time, which is one of the most important things in this matchup. If you can occupy your opponent's robotics facility with building observers, then that's a very good thing. Especially if it doesn't cost you anything. Rather than taking a fast fourth base, I decide to actually go into more gases first. I'm a little bit afraid of dying at the moment. I saw that he was getting these adepts on my side of the map. And hop, pull some probes so I can 2-shot with the stalkers as well. At the same time I was trading with stalkers on the other side. Now it's time for the fourth base. I've seen him go towards the far right side, and I believe that I have enough units to kind of, trade out here. My map vision isn't great. He has map control. He is the one that definitely is favored at this point. But I do try my best to at least get some type of information, and almost cost me a bit here. I see that he probably wants to take that as his fourth base, rather than taking the same base that I'm taking. He kills my observer, so he gets the better end of that little observer trade. Zealots are really useful, by the way. In Stalker-Stalker fights, if one player has like 1-2 Zealots with charge, that is super big, because they tank so many Stalker shots, and they just cost a little bit less. I kill one of his observers there, and this was a very good fight for me. I push him back quite far. He does dodge that final shot. And now I feel like I have map control. And here is where my my philosophy kind of starts coming into play. And that is, if you are the one with map control, there's two things you want to do. A, you want to be up in bases. And B, you want to make sure that your opponent can't damage you with run-bys. These are two very important concepts, okay? And bases slash eco. So you want to be up in bases slash eco. And you want to make sure that you can't lose map control, because the moment you lose map control is the moment you're going to lose your outside bases, majority of the time. So what you do is you leave a small part of your army, often consisting of units that are useless in a Disruptor Stalker battle, like Zealots. If you have Archons, you put them in this army, DTs, that type of stuff. You put them in a secondary army to make sure that you can defend any potential DT, Zealot, Archon run-bys of your opponent. Because while you are the one that is attacking his bases at home, he should be harassing the DT squads to try and get map control back, because that is often the only way that you can gain some type of map control. If you have map control in PvP, it is often difficult to lose it, because disruptor battles almost never truly get decided. Most players are good enough to not get hit by a massive disruptor shot. You often trade disruptor for disruptor, and this type of stuff can happen if you are the one with map control. You can pull this type of move. So I shoot that thing out. I see he has a couple of Zealots there, no DTs. I also see something happening in my third base, but doesn't seem to be too important as I have enough cannons there. I clear this base, my little secondary army comes there as well. I get more cannons here to really make sure that I'm not gonna lose. At this point I should be taking a far left side base as a 5th nexus at the same time, or I should be transitioning into a superior army composition. Both of these things are fine. Not quite sure how I noticed this, but I think I just saw them move. So now the DTs try to go into my natural, which is a common location, because often the outside bases are well defended, but the inside bases are easy to kind of maneuver into. That's exactly what happens here. I cancel this base another time. I probably should have a Dark Templar on his far right side base to make sure that he isn't taking that. And at the same time, like I said, be expanding or be teching up. As you can see, I'm also not really getting any extra upgrades right now, which I think is a mistake. I am on double robo, which is good. You always want to be on double robo in this phase of the game. If you have these heavy trades, which honestly we are kind of having heavy trades, it's important to have double robo so you can get a lot of these disruptors. When he starts shooting disruptor balls, I make sure to not get hit by him. And he does get hit by that disruptor ball, it's nice. I'm down in disruptors, but I'm up in brain power. That's important as well. I try to make sure that he can't zone me out of my base. I kind of managed to win back map control with a DT run by into my main. I now see something here on the bottom side. I don't really have a secondary army ready. No, it's over here. Wasn't quite ready to deal with that. Not super in position. You end up killing it, and now my workers go back to work quickly. I don't quite know where his disruptors are. Oh, that was an insane blink. My splits are good. Oh, okay, well, that's good. That was very bad. I kind of lose a lot of my units there for no real reason. The blink forward was really risky, and blinking on top of a ramp is honestly the dumbest thing you can do, and I did it. That blink also was really dumb. So I've done a couple of really bad blinks at this point. I'm still only on 4 bases. However, I believe him to have been on 3 bases for a majority of that. Now I'm gonna check if he has that right side base or not. Can't really move down this ramp. I'll try to though. Lose a disruptor, trying to. I'm trying to win back that map control. I think, especially if you're pushing and you got some successful trades, it's often the best thing to just keep going rather than going back, especially if you have a superior disruptor count. So I think that was a mistake out of him. That was a huge disruptor hit that kind of makes it difficult for him to keep pushing, because my stalker count is just superior at this point. I'm kind of trying to use my disruptors here as a zoning tool. So what I want to do here is I just blink on top of this nexus. I'm gonna try to kill it, and then zone him out with disruptor. So that's kind of what I tried doing here. I get the nexus, so in my mind, mission accomplished. I have a large army at home. This was originally the army against my opponent's run-bys, but now it's fighting his main army, which isn't usually what you want, but it's still better to have an army than to not have an army. I somehow killed all of these DTs, or at least I forced him away. Now he's going back in, and I am going to end up killing them, I think. But there we go. At the same time, this army is being split sufficiently that he isn't really getting anything done. Over there. Get a couple of extra cannons, and I need to get a 5th base. That 5th base should have gone down about 4 minutes ago when I had map control. I didn't. I also still am not aware of what's happening on the far right side. I'm not quite sure what he's expanding there, if he's even expanding there. So once again, I'm going to go for an army split. And I'm going to try to figure out exactly what's going on here. This ramp is insane to go down to, so I probably need to kill the rocks first. At the same time, I'm seeing that he still has no base over here. So it's either on 3 base total or on 4 base total, is my current belief in this game. Oh my god, I missed that. Very upsetting. Still not getting any extra upgrades, by the way, on my fort. I'm finally getting DT Blink. I'm lacking gases, so it's been difficult. Now I see this base is being built, so it means I'm up a base. He only has 3 bases, I have 4 bases, and 2 of those are mining. Only 1 of his 3 bases is mining. And I'm taking a 5th on top of that, so I'm actually in a very good spot here. It does make it harder for me to deal damage now with run-bys, because there's just less positions to attack. Keeping map control is still very important though. So you see that my run-by defense squad actually has increased in size. Oh my god, I just blinked to my own disruptor. Didn't even realize that into the game. That's the first time that happened. I'm missing some vision in the middle of the map, but it doesn't matter too much because I have such a large army on the other side, and my disruptor count here is so big that it's almost going to be impossible to be pushed back on this side. I wish that I could use my secondary army in a more useful way, and I'm kind of looking for anything that he can do, and I almost want to join up that secondary army with my main army right now, so I can just fight him. Meet an observer there. Observers almost never come alone. They're often accompanied by zealots, DTs, or other things, and the observer is there so that I can just warp in defensive DTs and be completely fine. And I kind of forgot that rule there. Yes, his DTs are over there. Luckily I have a very big army still in position, and I actually see something happening on the mini-map, or see something happening on the map. See a shimmer, a shimmering light. And I try to chase it. Some slight oversaturation. And I'm looking for these DTs to kill. I know that he doesn't have that old 4th base location, or that old 3rd base location that he used to have over there. And that makes me happy. I'm also trying to get more map vision at this point, figuring out what he's doing, and he somehow managed to completely sneak by me, and as a result he loses 2 disruptors because I do have a secondary army. I'm gonna give up that base and say to myself, okay, if I lose that left side base and I kill 2 of his bases, that's gonna be a good trade. I still have an army here that's eventually gonna be capable of cleaning him up. However, it is important that if this happens, that I don't actually lose all the bases myself. So I'm just making sure that I'm not losing too many bases. I might actually be able to keep this one alive. Killed this base, which is good. And I want to kill that top right side base. I did lose a lot of workers, and I lose this, well, at least the mining here. Luckily the base is almost empty, so I don't actually care about it anymore. I still have a bunch of probes that aren't mining, and I can probably just send them back into, what is this? The 8 o'clock. Got a couple of batteries there, a couple of cannons. DT here is fighting his stuff. I kill some DTs for free. Decide to not blink after 1 DT, as at this point, once again, he's on 3 base, and I am mining from 2 bases, and he's mining from 1 base. So even though he has 3 bases, he's only mining from 1. And it's going to be really difficult for him to take that top base again, because now I have units there. I'm getting better map vision as well. Gonna send my DTs to clear that top side DT that I see happening on the mini-map. And my left side army is kind of trying to make sure that I don't get run by it. Or even worse, that I just get attacked there straight up and lose a fight. Because the moment he decides to attack into this left side army, I can push in with my smaller right side army, and that will hopefully allow me to win a base straight, or at least kill 2 bases, or kill 1 of his last mining bases while I still have another mining base. So almost lose that DT, that sucked. Do lose that observer. Get this one out as well. And now I I'm looking at a way to kind of push forward. I want to do something right now because I am out mining him and I don't want to allow him to get back into the game by mining a lot and getting a stabilizing disruptor count. So I'm looking for fight, I'm looking for damage. I want to trade, but I still want to trade efficiently, at least semi-efficiently. I want to trade in a way where, you know, the end of the game I can look at the units lost tab and say, okay, that wasn't too bad. And well, these trades weren't brilliant, but they were good enough, I think. I have a couple of DTs on the far right side. So once again, I do a complete army rotation. My disruptors go to the left. My main army goes over here. I'm kind of trying to dodge his stalkers. Just figuring out where his disruptors are, where his stalkers are. I see his disruptors here right now. I see his stalkers there. I'm like, well, 1 and 1 is 2. That means that he is nothing at home currently. Or nothing at that right side base. And that's why I just kind of blink in there. At the same time, he still needs to defend this base as well. I get these zealots for free. I push in. He now decides to recall part of his army. And I'm like, oh, I can actually fight that. And then he has another part of his army that's here to do some type of flanking. I'm not happy with that. I think I don't get the greatest trade. It is a trade, but it's not a brilliant trade. And here I'm looking for a shot on these disruptors that he has. I'm kind of waiting for him to get something. So I have complete vision. I'm starting to attack the Nexus with the DT. I could cancel this DT whenever I want to. But right now I'm just busy hiding. Like, well, maybe I can get him with something else. And sadly his disruptor comes. So you see, I was pretty upset by that. Still doesn't have the right side base. I do get a cancel off. I see him showing up here. He tries to get a disruptor for free, but doesn't get it. I send out a couple of more of these disruptor balls, not only for zoning, but also for figuring out what he's doing exactly. I have a crap ton of money. And I'm gonna get another, trying to get another Nexus. So once again, I'm the one with map control. If you have map control, get another Nexus! Okay. And he shouldn't ever be capable of getting another Nexus, because he needs to walk up the ramp. And guess where I am? Yeah, I'm on that ramp. I think I just killed his DTs there, by being absolutely static. Blink back. I don't actually want to fight straight up, because he has a slightly larger stalker count. Also, my upgrades aren't great. I haven't upgraded in a while. Now I'm gonna just use the disruptors to try and snipe something here. It's not quite going to work. I mean, I kill an observer, but it's not quite what I wanted to snipe. I also realize I think I have a larger stalker count here than he does. So I once again do a rotation here. So disruptors go towards the top side, but my main army remains on the bottom, kind of. And he believes that my disruptors are still here. Well, in reality, they're somewhere else completely. So I start attacking this base. He comes from the back, he comes from the back. I use my stalkers as a meat shield. I don't actually have that many units here. Just pain. He isn't here whatsoever, and I try to snipe this base. I blink in, and I walk out. And I lose hardly anything. Decide to go home temporarily, because I just killed this base. I'm on 4 base, he's on 3 base. I still need to get an extra base, because my mining is about empty. And he decides to completely attack me, and I'm just sending both armies home at this point. I'm not quite sure if this was a good call out of him, as he's kind of backing himself into a corner, and I am way out mining him. So this is a fake recall of just a couple of disruptors that forces his recall. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but also not a brilliant recall, I think. And because he doesn't have a secondary army, because he only has disruptors, he can't be attacking my left side at the same time, which is generally bad. If you're only attacking one side at the same time, most of these fights are going to be trading efficiently, or slightly worse if you're doing harass. And often it's the secondary army that can get a good trade. But because he didn't have that, it was only a single punch, no 1-2 punch. It just becomes a lot harder. So single DT on the bottom side, trying to deny that Nexus. It's annoying the ever-living crap out of me, obviously. As DTs always do to everyone. DT is genuinely one of the most annoying units in the entire world. It's invisible, it's fast, it can blink. It's pretty expensive though, so it does have its downside. I'm trying to go for another rotation, trying to figure out exactly if there's anything that I can do. I'm gonna start fighting his what do you call it? His main army right now, and I feel confident enough that I have a large disruptor count that maybe I can force something. He's really afraid of me blinking forward because I have so many more stalkers at this point. And if you have this many more stalkers, something that you can do sometimes is that you can just blink forward on top of like 2-3 disruptors that still can shoot. But if there's no other disruptors that can still shoot, you're often in trouble. You see his stalker army here, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. If your stalkers are on the left side, then the only thing left over here is pure disruptor. Guess what, buddy? I can fight that. He moves forward. Woof. Yeah. GG. And I win the game. To go for another rotation, trying to figure out exactly if there's anything that I can do. I'm gonna start fighting his main army right now, and I feel confident enough that I have a large disruptor count that maybe I can force something here. He's really afraid of me blinking forward because I have so many more stalkers at this point. And if you have this many more stalkers, something that you can do sometimes is that you can just blink forward on top of like 2-3 disruptors that still can shoot. But if there's no other disruptors that can still shoot, you're often in trouble. So I see his stalker army here, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. If your stalkers are on the left side, then the only thing left over here is pure disruptor. Guess what, buddy? I can fight that. He moves forward. Woof. Yeah. GG. And I win the game. Woo. 27 minutes of pure pain. GG gets called. I win. And yeah, beautiful. That's going to be it for today. Thanks everyone so much for watching.
That smells ready.
Synergy? Synergy. What you doing, bud? Why is your AI this dumb? It doesn't even hit the ground before the AI picks it up again.
Mineral field.
That's still recharging.
Hello everyone, my name is Slow.
It's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. I need to get closer. I can't cast that yet.
From tonight.
It's still recharging. I'm out of rain. That spell isn't ready yet. That's still recharging. Cast that yet. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet.
One of the earliest documented Zerg whining about Protoss posts from cyberbob at earthlink.net on the Battle.net forums in June 1997. Zerg are going to be the best race in StarCraft, then Terrans. Then the stupid Protoss. No one likes the Protoss, and if they do, they are either lying or intoxicated. Heh well, I am being silly now. It is way too premature to decide which race is better, but the Zergs look the best. The 12th of June, 97. Can we browse this? Oh my god. What's with Terran and Protoss Zerg rules? By Dreadnought. I don't understand why everyone liked the Terran and Protoss. Any War Tour knows offense wins games, and the difference people sit on there and get beat up eventually, and the previews have obviously shown that the Protoss will have the best defense and worst offense. The Zerg will have the best offense and worst defense, and the Terrans are in the middle. The Zerg will obviously be the best because of their offensive powers. If you want to join a Zerg clan, join the StarCraft Black Hawk Hive. It's the only Zerg clan in the StarCraft Star League currently. Accepting members? Zergs suck. No. Is this English? There's some English in there. No, I just wanted your attention to say I could ask you a question. Oh my god. You're ugly and smell fish. Hosting games on the internet. I hope you put an option in StarCraft that enables us to host a multiplayer game, just like quote-unquote pod. We can create a game, and all we have to do is know the IP address, tell it to our friends, and they can now play. This is also a good idea because it can minimize lag. So all you had to do was like write your IP address on a piece of paper, bring it to the post office, mail it to your friend, and then wait until they inevitably log on around the same time.
Oh my goodness, what the hell is happening? Why is Raina stumbling?
You can come into the plane as well.
Alright.
Now, if you're gonna do that, at least do it over here.
Yeah, we've got some quality entertainment over here. Not quite Tyson Fury
no,
technique
enough.
coming out of laser, but...
You see that, by the way? Lambo was half see-through there. His shirt was, like, part of the plane. It's amazing. Anyways, guys.
This is gonna go wrong.
Oh, yeah. We don't have that much space between the chairs behind us in the cockpit and in the plane and everything else.
Raina did land a nice little jab there, I saw on the chin of Miko.
Oof. I will be late for work today. There's a cat on my roof. Have to take the bus. You can't just come in late because you don't want to bother a damn cat. Just get rid of it.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another tournament game. Me versus Maru, TSL 8. I wanted to go check to see one disruptor hit, it hits big. And another disruptor hit, doesn't hit at all. I think it might have killed a, what do you call it? Disruptor or something like that. So I swapped the two armies as the left side army looked way better of his. So I'm just actually gonna go try and chase it. And now I believe I have a bit of a timing because I pushed this one army back already. That was a pretty big army. That means there can only be a pretty small army left at this point. I also decided to go straight into Stargate rather than going into Dark Templar here. Because I don't believe I can actually do too much with the Dark Templar with his army movement. There's a scan forward. I see the scan. I know he's going to be pushing in. He's going to take out some of my cannons, but I will be coming back with this army. This is not an army that can chase. It's an army that can defend the spot, though. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be defending at the spot. So I walked into the zone with my zealots to force a reaction out of him. And that's exactly what he did. And at the same time, like half a second later, I threw my disruptor. So I kind of used attention as a resource there. Where I walk into the sensor tower vision, his eyes go to the minimap, and I know he's gonna be sending units there. And that gives me like maybe a half a second window to throw these disruptors and get some good shots off. That's exactly what I did there. I really want to fight. Ideally, I'm currently fighting, but because he has map control, I can't fight. Many Terrans don't understand this, even many Terrans at the high level. But the most important thing for a Terran to do when TOS has a big army is to keep the army split and on the map. Because if you have a split army on the map, it becomes really difficult for the Protoss player to move across the map and fight. And once the Protoss is on your side of the map, often the games becomes a lot harder. That's exactly what's kind of happening here. Like now, I think I don't have enough disruptors yet, which sucks. Like if I had 7-8 disruptors here, I think I actually might have been capable of doing something. Like some damage onto something. But because I only have 4, I can't actually stay around for too long to fight. My army is getting slightly better. More Stalkers. It also has too many Colossi still though. And Vikings just kind of kill these Colossi, which isn't super useful for me. Yeah, so I'm just gonna take out these Colossi. I think that's actually a good call. Get a couple more of these disruptors. Also, I think I started Storm at this point already. That's a good call if I have. Because it helps you defend the outside bases. There's no unit as good at defending a base with cannons as the Templar is, as the Storm does so much. It really does just help an insane amount against every type of run-by or any type of unit that your opponent can send in. Now I realize he's trying to move on the map, and I'm not actually ready yet with an army to deal with this whatsoever. So I decided to send in a couple of DTs. I do have DT Blink. But he's kind of catching me in my transition here towards carriers. Trying to snipe one of these. It's not the cleanest micro. Probably should have just used these Stalkers by themselves. 2 Colossi remain. I'm trying to get more carriers out. And I have 7 DTs. Now, you need 9 DTs to 3-shot a planetary. And with 7 you need about 4, and I don't get these swipes. In my head I actually warped in 9, but in reality I only warped in 7, so I was 100% sure that the planetary was gonna die, and now is about the time I realized that the planetary stays alive. I'm like, that's not ideal, because in that case I can trade a base for a base, and it's not that bad that I lose a base. Like, it still sucks obviously, and I'd much rather have that base alive, but that's not what happened. Like, I lost it. So, and his base did stay alive. So now it's 4 base versus 5 base. I am transitioning into carrier, but the transition is a little bit slow, so it's not brilliant either. Trying to get some type of information, just trying to figure out where he's going with his army right now. So maybe I can fight him somehow, like zone in with these disruptors. But once again, the disruptor count is actually kind of small. Now he's moving into a direction which I don't like. There's a possibility to just completely zone me out. I think I should have actually stormed the ramp maybe. But there's too many Liberators for me to just walk into that zone. There's a lot of units. Can't really do much anymore. Nuclear launch detected. I hear it very clearly now. While I was in the game... no, I actually did hear it. I just thought that he was gonna put it at this area, the zone. And then I realized he put it on my natural. I didn't think he would do that. I thought it was like a zoning play to take the left side base. But it wasn't a zoning play to take the left side base. It was a play to kill my entire probe line. That's a little bit unfortunate. At this point I'm pretty sure that I'm dead. But of course, it's an important game. Playing against someone that's very good, you always want to try. There's no penalty in trying a little bit, except the penalty of people disliking you for wasting their time. But then again, yeah, that's life as well. I'm a competitor. I want to try staying in for as long as possible. I'm gonna go for an all-out attack. I have a couple of carriers. If he doesn't have enough anti-air, maybe I can win it. I think I have 2-1 upgrades as well on the air. But yeah, it's a little bit painful here, this game. I see a ghost move there. I saw the little red dot as well, so I can't move up that area. Hop. throw that thing. Want to get a couple of extra Templar. Guys, his unit control is actually ridiculously good. They're actually crazy. Crazy how good his unit control is. Really, I obviously knew it was gonna be good, but it was very, very good. I didn't expect that. I really wonder what his hotkey setup is, because there's not a lot of Terrans that have more than 2 hotkeys. But I think that the way that he controls his units, it feels like Ghost, Viking and Lip are all separated from the main army. So that means he would be using 4 unit hotkeys. I don't really know any Terrans that do that. Most Terrans just have 1 or 2 hotkeys max. Because the way that the Terran army tends to work. I call GG, I lose the game. I quickly check to see what my position was in better time. Kind of look at the army. I think at this point, the main takeaway that I have here is that my position wasn't very bad. That I transitioned into Airtles too slow, even though I knew he was going to be playing very defensively, and that I didn't have enough disruptors. I think these were the main 3 takeaways after that first game, and especially because I hadn't really played a late game like this in over 2-3 months or so, maybe even longer. I can't actually recall the last time I played against someone that was good in the late game, or that allowed it to go into a late game. I didn't really have a proper plan completely into that, or I was maybe a little bit rusty. I obviously thought of it, but in my mind the DTs were going to be more useful, or I wanted to go DTs more. So yeah, that's really the main takeaways, and let's just go to game number 2 straight away. Alright, game 2, and this is the map where I had a special build prepared. There's some nice profits. Look at that, man, they're mining so quick. It's gonna be 13 pylon, 14 gate. This is just in between the 12 and the 14 pylon, as it's 13. You have way better eco than with 12 pylon, and you have a 5 to 6 seconds faster cyber core than you do with 14 pylon. So, especially on small maps, I love playing this build. And I've been doing it to great success. I've shown this build a fair amount in the past, so I am aware that there's a possibility that Maru might know about it, or that he's prepared and play something like high ground CC. Basically, this means is that if they open up with CC on the low ground, that CC on the low ground most likely will never finish. That's really what it kind of leads to in reality with the 13 pylon 14 gate. There's one thing that I kind of underestimated, and that is the evac. I didn't really think he would go for it on Berlingrad. I'm not quite sure why I thought he wouldn't go for it on Berlingrad. That was just an oversight when I was making... Sometimes when I make plans, I get too focused on what I am going to be doing rather than what my opponent is going to be doing. In this case, right now the build is kind of ruined, because whenever he plays eBay block, he almost always gets high ground CC as well. So at this point I just know that I see a second depot, which actually really confused me. I wanted to go check to see what he's doing, then I decided against it. I should have checked for a Reaper here, or a Marine. I didn't do that, which is a mistake. I assumed it was going to be a Marine, because I saw the barracks finishing at 127, so it was a non-gas first barracks. So I was pretty sure that this was a Marine, and I think I lose my probe here to a Reaper. I realized that it wasn't a Marine. I'm obviously pretty upset by that, because this could have been completely prevented. If you check at 146 at the
too far away. That spell isn't ready yet. That's still recharging.
Nazdar. Jo, budeme na Discordu, my jsme teďka i kecali napřímo.
Tady si takhle odpoledne, vole, jako paří, vole, místo aby se staralo rodinky, jo? Hráváš často?
Vem si ty questy tady, je vlastně jenom jeden. Nastav si všechny ty addony, já půjdu zatím zabíjet to.
Kašle addony, jo, oni se nějak to postupně ukáže se, co je potřeba. A bral jsi jenom ty základní vesnici, jo?
Jenom ten jeden, jenom na ty. Ještě tohle potřebuji, no. No a teď...
Jo, já myslím, že je to stejná věc, jak byla dřív. Jo, tak já mám bloklý zádička teď, tak mám čas. Takže teď se můžu vyblbnout, no.
Já jsem viděl tě, Vyspa, že jsi byl. Já jsem viděl, ty jsi neodlognul, ty jsi klikl na exit game dvakrát. Já jsem to viděl na streamu.
Co si děláte, prdel, vole. No, ptal jsem se Romana, jaký to byl jako pocit. Když třeba umřete, vole, na té 19. nebo tak.
Ty vole, normálně, já když jsem zdechl poprvé, nebo nad tím Garemem, nebo já jsem měl, ty vole, já jsem měl úplně krizi, jako.
Jako klávesnice zůstaly celé jako v pohodě.
To jo, to spíš to, no něco takového, to prostě jako, to bys nejradši jako šel jako kakao deku a to je pocit jako...
Už byl zvyklý, jo. Oh.
Proč jsem piča, ty vole?
Jasně, že jsem mu dal Marko, abych věděl, kde je, vole. Romane, já víš o tom, že to maso musíš sbírat.
Však ho sbírej. Já si to pozbírám potom. Já jsem si nastavil ještě autoloot, víš?
Prasáci za autolutem.
Ty vole, to prostě bereš všecko, že? A pak to vyhazuješ až. Nemáš manu.
Na tom byl level se restí rychle, vole. Asi, doufám.
Víš, jak funguje to, restění many? Ty, když mana se ti začne restit, až když 5 sekund nepoužiješ žádný spell. Takže vždycky je lepší jako všecko maximálně použít a pak třeba počkat, až se ti vyrestí do maxima, zase všecko maximálně použít. Než třeba jako teď spell, teď zase počkám chvilku, teď zase spell. Takže vždycky všecko vytřískat a pak až to.
Jo. Jsem dvojka, neumřel jsem ještě.
Jak to, že já nejsem? Já už jsem byl? Jak to, že mě to rychlej?
Nevím, čo.
Ty jsi něco nechytil. Kde jsou ti
Tak
věci?
to bylo asi tím, jak říkal, vem si questy a jdu zabíjet.
We need to get closer. That smells ready.
No, vidíš, už jsem to dolutoval. Mám 6 z 8 jak ty.
Čumím.
Jsem ninja looter. Druhý nejrychlejší looter, hned po kovovi. To je to úplně to samé, když držíš furt shift. A nikdy ho v životě nepustíš.
A to je. Jako Kuba to má jako super schopnost svoje, jo? Všecko vylutovat.
To je. V které hře to je? Počkej, to nemám odevzdávat.
Takže asi to mám odevzdat.
Počkej, máme. Jsem neměl zaplit tady ten. Počkej, musím restartovat record. Okay. Jo, určitě to odevzdej. A prodej si itemy, co potřebuješ.
A na šefiku. Tady je. Jo, mohl bych se oblézt, že?
Koloťácké handy.
Jasně.
Všecko si vem, všechny ty kosty si vem tady u něho.
Tam ty dva tam byly, ne?
No. Já si musím restartovat tady, jak se to dělá.
A koliká to vyjdeš postavu třeba? Tak to jsi docela odhodlaný, ty vogo.
Hlavně když zdechneš. Dobré, než to půjde.
Už pojďme odevzdat, ne první?
Ne. Jdeme nejdřív zabíjet tady ty. Dobré, já už jsem si tu guidu restartnul. Takže jsem tady v klidu zabíjet. Jo, já pojedu podle toho Zigoru.
Ale tak jestli to ušetří nějaký běhačky, to je jasný. Už mám skill 6 na máce. Konečně
už mám to, už jsem si zařídil, že tu mám ty kvalitní sluchátka u kompu. takže neslyším šumění větráku a tak. Tak to bylo jenom dokud jsem hrál na tom, no.
Takže Roman tam těžil bitcoin, vole, proto to tak učilo, vole.
Ty jsi dobil toho jednoho, ne? Tak přiběhu teď.
Co, Romane, jako, hodíš si ego na tom, že jsi, vole, Warrior, vole, a já priest, nebo?
Ne.
Rukávky. Zdravé.
Si asi zapnu ještě auto equip z začátku. Abych to nemusel řešit.
Teď to přihazuje automaticky lepší, jo?
Ten Zigor to umí, no. No, jakože později je to takové, že to třeba nechceš. Že to nechceš, že ti tam třeba dává něco, to jako není úplně správně. Ale my už to máme complete, to může mít.
Jasně, já už mám follow.
Něco pomalý, to je hrozné.
Tak dám aspoň auto a tak, no.
Si houtní.
Ty hraješ solo Prista, jak spíš? Je to na hovno Expit Prista, Expo jsem ho hodněkrát. je to sračka, no.
Tak nechtěl zhrát s mnou.
Nedáš damage. Mám brát všechny questy?
Všecko vím, všecko odevzdej. Nauč se spely.
Aha. A co
se nepoužívá na hráče. Lepka se používá na to, co zabíjíš. Dobré, máš to pobrané?
Nemám
zbraně.
Hledám tady, kde odevzdávám.
Sword.
Tady!
Máš to? Všechno?
Jo, ještě. Hezky.
Hlavně ty spely se nauč.
No mám skvělý spely. Fortitude mám. Tež ten byl automaticky už, ale teď Powerball Fortitude. Krása. Hej, obecně, tyvo, moc, jako, to je to zábavný, ano. To je zajímavější otázka. Mark Feral Druid.
To bude jako, že se z toho TBCčka stane o to? Z toho, co teďka jisteme? Tak pojď už. Pojď, nezdržím.
Už jdu. Ty vždycky změníš, vole, ikonku a já nevím, jestli mám jít za čtverečkem, trouhelníčkem, vole, nebo...
Protože tu je spoustu jiných znaků, že?
Velká grupa, no. Počkej, já bych tě mohl... Ty vole, to by ubral životu. Jo? Až? Tak jako obecně jako s Magem Priest vždycky fungoval, že?
O tolk si pamatuju, že jsem vyexpel postavu, takže jsem si dal ten Dungeon Finder a prostě jsem chodil dungeony furt dokola.
To bylo takové zvláštní vovko, no.
No, a já jsem tak jsem udělal velmi lehce toho druida, protože tam jsem si dal jako všechny 3 role, že? No, jasně, no, pokud tě baví to, pokud tě baví to questění, tak jasně, no, ale pokud chceš jako udělat ten level nějak jinak, tak ti to zase jako pomůže hrozně.
Tak oni to zavedli hlavně, protože bylo strašně moc, bylo to populární, hodně lidí asi to chtělo hrát, každý hráč chtěl různých postav vyzkoušet co nejvíc, takže to udělali, aby prostě každý si mohl zkusit i tu opačnou roli, no. Hej, máme tu nějaký boxík. Na jihu, na zemi.
Jo, ale nejdřív musíme zabít ty prasata.
Však oni jsou aj u boxíků. Nejsou.
Nejsou, tady je to nejvíc. Dobře.
Někdo nám je zabil.
No, to je pořád ještě to. Tam v Warře. Ty bys měl chodit a ty prasata lákat k nám. Já je dorážím. Takový
Já jsem tu na healování.
Ne, ty jsi tu na ranged attack. Tak abych já nemusel
já jsem
prasatu
tu na
běžet až do
healování.
prdele.